So this is what I have right now. Let's change the matte like so. And I'm quite happy with these details we've managed to give it. There are a few things we need to look at. It still has a bit of a sculpting feel to it. There's some digital detailing that's quite obvious digital that we need to look at. And there's some edges that aren't really sharp or sharp enough. They're close, but not close enough. So we need to look at that. But yeah, I'm quite happy where I'm at. But with that said, let's get into this, and we'll start with. I'm looking at trying to figure out which side is less refined. Let's say this one. It's not really that bad. Actually, it's quite good. But there's a few details, like here. You can still see the crumple brush has left its mark on this rock, and we need to fix that. Ooh, what's happening with the music? Actually, sounds like. Not sure. Just swap. I don't mind this music. It's kind of nice, though it's not what I usually go for. I'm more of a heavy metal guy myself. And let's see, so where do we want to start? I think we want to start with the trim dynamic this time around. And the goal is to clean up this part. So let's start by removing some of these unnecessary lines. I think we can tone you down. And I probably will repeat myself a few times, but when it comes to these things, what I'm looking at is recreating. No, not recreating. I want to have these areas right here. If you kind of look at it from a certain angle where the light hits, you can start to see planes. You have a plane in this area that kind of goes down into this section, kind of interacts with the plane, the big plane over here, and we kind of want these to either like merge together, or we want this section right here to be its own plane, like, or should I probably call it surface for our lights to bounce off. Not sure why this isn't showing up. This is annoying. So let's restore custom, see what happens. All right, that didn't work. One day I need to figure out if there's a solution for this. Oh, now you work. Okay. I assume it's part of the version of ZBrush I'm using that's probably bugged. It's an older version by now. Okay, let's go with this. Don't realize the biggest thing, or the hardest thing, with sculpting something while streaming is actually not having my brain shut off completely, and I'm like, what can I talk about? I don't know. My brain isn't thinking. It's completely shut. Okay. Gotten into this habit. Probably not going to be a long-term habit though, of watching. Let's see what it's called. Team Gaku no Isukai. Is that the one? I think it's called. I've watched their old videos before. And if you don't know about them, assuming of course I said the right name. Actually, let's check that. Gaki no Tsukai. Probably butcher that. Either way, it's a old game show, I would assume it's called. By now it's old. They haven't been going on for a long time. I think they're 2022 episode might be the last. I haven't really looked into it. I haven't seen an update in a while. Either way, it's a show, a really funny show in my opinion, where 5 comedians are thrown into these scenarios where they're not meant to laugh. I think they're the original creators of that challenge. And of course, they can't keep themselves from laughing. And when they do, they get punished. And depending on the episode you watch, that could be different. But the last years, 5, 6, maybe 7 years, they introduced some kind of rubber stick that seems quite painful. So they get their butts kicked for laughing. Voluntarily, of course. And it's kind of fun watching because they are funny at the same time as the situation itself. It's actually really dumb and funny. So I do hope that the 2022 episode, I think it's the last one, isn't actually the last one. But who knows? They are actually getting a bit into their, a bit older by now. Last time I checked, I believe they were like in their 50s, probably in the 60s by now. At least a few of them, they were different age. Well, either way, funny stuff. And the reason I brought it up because I had them running like an episode, like at least in half an hour of each episode every evening by now, for a few days. And it's been a fun way to kind of relax towards the end of the day. And if you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend giving them a look because they are funny. And if you love those videos on YouTube where it's about not laughing to videos, because I do believe, never confirmed it though, but Team Gaki, let's call them that, are the originals when it comes to these types of challenges. And if you know the history behind that, please let me know. Curious. Let's see. No, don't want that. Okay, maybe I should go for this one. Sometimes you need to swap brush to get the results you want. Hello. Now okay. My hotkeys stopped working for some reason. Yes. Okay, now we're back. Not too worried that there are few areas where the detailing isn't as sharp on the edges. I do want a uniform look most of the way. The reason I'm not that concerned about it is that, well, rocks tend to have different wear and tear. So as long as I feel like it looks decent, we'll go with it. Yeah. Let's see. Play around with the trim dynamic a bit. Should pull on these levels of detail. Hmm. Not sure about this part over here. We should just kind of soften. Not better, is it? Maybe, maybe not. Let's make you fully 100%. I don't really feel it digging in as much as I want. Oh. Right. So aiming to keep sharpness of, at least add back some of the sharpness at least. And then again, we're back to those planes that I mentioned. Smooth you out a bit. That looks pretty good. But then we're looking at this part. We need to sharpen that up a bit. And I'm going to use the tuck method that I mentioned yesterday, where I grab a section and just kind of just push it in. And as if it was fabric, just push it in, tuck it. Perhaps the brush is a bit strong. We can try from this angle instead. Not too worried about these type of details for now. We can adjust these in a second. The dynamic brush, move those back. That's a bit much. Like this. Not to worry if there's imperfection. We're looking at rock. Alright. So that, in that sense, rock is a very, like, what do you call it? Unforgettable. It's not a harsh way of learning. I've lost the words. It's a forgivable. No. Either way. Going for a rock is not the worst thing you can do as a first sculpt, because you can kind of go nuts and make all the mistakes you'd want and need, learn. It'll still come out decently if you follow a few principles. What's up? Sorry. Car Nathan? What's up? Sorry, I'm not good with call you Nathan. I will alright. With the shortening of words, you have to teach me. I'm an old man by now. WSG. Not sure what that stands for. Probably should. So how you doing? Sorry to hear that, man. Well, we do have those days. They come and go, tend to at least. What's good? All right, there you go. So what you do by the day then, Nathan? Since you're struggling a bit, so what's going on? I'm really sorry to hear that, though. Okay. Let's see. I hope I didn't put you on the spot though, because if you want to share, share. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's the thing about getting friends, right? Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Eventually, a few will stay, but you never know who. At least not. That's my experience, at least. Just tend to happen. Just keep it up. I'll believe you can find some good friends out there. Don't give up. That's the thing. I mean, I'm struggling to find friends here in the Gothenburg. And no worries. Hey, it's all about like staying. We need to look it out for each other, right? It could be a harsh world out there, so every now and then, if I can give a few good words to anyone, just keep it up. Yeah, but it's easy said than done, right? I mean, we all know it. The back of our head is like, you shouldn't give up, shouldn't give up. And it could be frustrating hearing that for someone else every now and then. But it's just the truth, though, unfortunately. Every now and then, it's fine to just let it go for a short while to get some new batteries in, or at least charge the ones you have, and then get back to it. Eventually, you'll figure it out. That's the fun part about life. Just keep going at it, and eventually it will happen. I've experienced that so many times myself, or things like this. It's never gonna happen, or this or that. Eventually, just did. Not the way I expected it to, but yeah. So, what brings you to Twitch and this tag? Because I'm assuming you found me through the gaming and software tag. You a developer yourself, or just interested? Perhaps something else. I don't know. Curious though. Let's see. Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, you have to educate me on that. Roblox for me is an enigma. Don't know much about it. And it's I wouldn't call it an engine. Perhaps it is. You would call it an engine. You have your options to create your own stuff. And it's a company that supplies the basic stuff for you. Is that how it works? Probably butchered that, but I am really out of the loop. Yeah. Need to remove these nasty lines. All right. All right. Sounds cool. And is there anything special you focus on? Like the type of genre? Because I've seen some videos I would assume would be Roblox, because Roblox is famous for that, not Lego necessarily look, but it's quite blocky when it comes to the characters, right? I've seen a few like horror games made by those types of graphics, which I then can assume is Roblox, perhaps. I actually didn't know about that game. Unturned. All right. It sounds cool. I mean, the idea of having a place for people to develop their skills before they kind of move on to their own stuff. I'm all for that, so. And you're into RPGs. All right, cool. Cool. And RPGs will be, of course, role-playing stuff. So we're looking at... Right now, my head is just lost. I'm really out of the loop. For me, when I hear role-playing or RPGs, I'm thinking Final Fantasy. But that would be JRPGs, or would it? Is Final Fantasy recognized as a JRPG or an RPG? All right, so... And is it that simple? It's just that it's Japanese, therefore it's in JRPG. That's fair, I guess. Okay. We're still on Final Fantasy, though, when it comes to MMORPGs, because that would be World of Warcraft, right? Or the Final Fantasy 14, surely. But not the original ones, or the single-player games, right? They would be JRPGs, not MMO, right? Since it's not mass online. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. So we're on the same side also. So how long have you been at it then? Yeah, exactly. MMO, mass multiplayer, online, I believe. But yeah, I'm curious. How long have you been a Roblox developer? Well, I can share that sentiment. I it's really cool that you've been trying for a few months and keep at it because you'll just get better at it. And the sharing, like I'm sharing the feeling of wanting to make games. Though it might for me it came slightly later in life. I had other aspirations at first, but games has always been like a big thing. And then I realized, you know what, this thirst thing I did isn't going to work out. So what now? And it just felt natural to go into to games, and I've been at it for like, ooh, starting to get close to 20 years now. That's insane. Although not full 20 years of game development. I started as a 3D modeler at first. Damn. Is that damn as impressive or damn as you're old, man? Perhaps both. I think the internet would recognize me if I was a female as a hag by now. Damn, that's impressive, thanks. I mean, you will learn once you get to the same, you know, like years of wisdom, we want to call it, that it's just gonna fly by, and it's just part of life. Time will move whether you want it or not. So it's not particularly that impressive, but thank you, and either way. So yeah, if you love something, you'll likely just keep at it, and time will fly. For me, when it came to games, I think actually the one that really got me into it, like hooked me completely, it was either Pokemon or Final Fantasy VIII. I kind of played them roughly at the same time. And they just got me. And then, of course, I got onto the MMO train. The game I played the most, at least in hours, it's definitely World of Warcraft. Oh, I have so many hours in that game. But what should you do? I love the game, and I have friends that loves the game, so felt natural. Just kept playing. see. Let's do the tuck again. To tuck this in. Do you have a game like that, Nathan, that kind of got you hooked? One of those that you want to play again, but you can't really because you already know what's going to happen, or the nostalgia is really... What's that? What kind of detail is that? Sure. Well, it is a crack, but it's a really dumb one. They're not linear. Please expand on that. Like, open world type of game then? Or linear as in when you play them? Yeah. That's a thing we have to live with as the gamers. Like, eventually, our favorite games are just going to be memories. Well, maybe that's a bit harsh, but I think you get what my point. So based on that, my guess would then be it's not good guesses, but we either say it's Zelda related to, or Elden Ring. Was that close? Probably not. Oh, there you go. Wait, so this open world games on Roblox? How big is Roblox really? Because in my head, open world, we're talking like big development stuff, if that's the case. But wait, what? You can play open world stuff on Roblox? That's absolutely insane. All right. I think, Nathan, you need to teach me a bit more about Roblox, because holy shit. How, like, roughly how big, many players are we looking at? Like, users, probably. Because this is insane. Sure, I get... Yeah, I got that from your previous, description of it. It's just still, in my head, even trying to make an open world in Unity or Unreal or Godot, it's such a huge task. So I can't really imagine it'd be easier in Roblox. Holy shit. 89. 89 million, that's insane. That is generally insane. Well, there you go. It's a different world. I would assume then that it could be quite difficult to get your name out there then as a developer. Or at the same time, you have, if you can find your niche, you could probably get a decent following. Is that good enough? I think so. Losing stuff because the resolution might be a bit off here. So it's the open world games, the biggest ones right now, Roblox, or we're looking at more of these party games. So they tend to, at least when it comes to content creation, they tend to be most popular. I'm thinking of, like, what's the one right now going around? Is it Peak? Then you had, oh, what's the name of those? Or you're like those capsule characters. You should know it. It's not Lethal Company. What's the name of it? Never played myself, but it seems like people had a period of just playing that online. Big for content creators. Probably should increase my resolution. Not feeling the details. What's that? Yep, we need to increase. Save first because ZBrush tends to crash. And let's try it out. The help. Not really. Help at all. Okay. Lower the brush bit. There you go. It's a bit harsh. It's hard to fiddle with the details. Done that from the beginning because it's a lot easier. Like so. Let's look around a bit. So I need to figure out where these details are and why I haven't removed them yet. I guess they are not called details then because it'd probably be more called artifacts. No. either way, whether I decide to call them artifacts, details, they are not wanted on this model. Details are fine, but not these ones. These sculpt-like details. What's happening in that corner right there? It's better. So like these, but there's something. Let's go for this hair first. But there's something about these detail. I'm not sure what to do with them, actually. I do like that there's quite a rocky feeling to them, but at the same time, there's something left over, some leftovers from that crumple brush I used. Not sure what's going on. Let's keep that section. All right. Shoe back. Move this line. You get that corner to work better. Apparently not. So actually, that's quite a bit better. That detail is not what I want. So let's remove you completely. Similar to this, but I can just smooth that out, I think. Oh, let's fill it in. Like so. The other obvious details that are leftovers from that crumple brush. There are a few, I think. Let's see if we can work them back a bit. Every now and then I can't squint my eyes. Or rather, not squint, actually, starting to look a bit cross-eyed. That's partially because I'm looking at one detail for too long, or it's just a way for me to not focus too much on the details, trying to figure out where the larger flat surfaces are. And definitely tend to see these messed up areas a lot better. Let's add a bit. Actually, that feels more like a dip in. We're gonna do the tuck again, if that can help. Yes, no. Perhaps from the other side. Tuck in, in. That's better. That's a lot better. It's a lot of detail work. We'll get there eventually. Not sure about this line. Feels like it's lost some of its details. That's probably because it has. Decimation, or sorry, the Dynamesh tend to soften sharp edges. We don't want that. Not, well, not always at least, and not in this scenario. That thing right there, we can do, all right, so let's see if we can do something special with that line. So I have two options as far as I can tell. I could fill this in, creating a lip or an edge, this part, or we can try and move or continue this line. Actually, there's a third one. That is we can make a chip out of it. Like, I think we can try that. If it doesn't work, we can always fill it in. Let's see if we can force it into some type of lip tip. Oh, sorry, some shipped detail. And that's the hard part because I can't really get him into this one without touching this side. So I might have to use a mask this time. I would prefer not to, but I think it's unavoidable. This time around. Okay, that kind of worked. Let's try the dam stand to see if we can force it a bit more. So it's not really a lot better, is it? Let's try and work a bit more. We could try, we haven't tried that before, we could try the hinge tool to give some of these details a bit more room to work. That makes sense. Just try it out though. This. I kind of like that detail. We need to fine tune it a bit more, but it's working. So let's try the pinch. So the pinch will push details together a bit. So if we kind of force this one to be more sharp, perhaps we can try the inverted alt and sharpen these. I need detail though. It's not enough. Or sorry, I need resolution. That's what I need. Let's push back. Save. And then do a Dynamesh. What happens? It's not horrendous. I push you a bit more. Kinda can. And slight touch. Be smooth. It's not perfect, but I think we can work at that. Now that I look at it, I kind of like the idea of this continue a bit more. Just need a better angle. Yes, let's go back to the pinch. It's a bit of a unique detail, but we can live with that. It works quite well. Next, we'll go back to the cleanup and make sure this looks like it should. Go. strength. This one. Okay. These and a bit. What else? This part could be made more sharp. Let's go back to the dynamic one. It feels a bit more responsive now. That's annoying. There we go. Actually, now it's less responsive. Annoyingly enough. Yeah. All right. It's so. Okay. Don't need that. There we go. Keep pushing that wrong button. I can do something about that, though. So, completely. Where did you go? Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do this. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to rest my eyes for like a minute or two. I'm going to grab the last slurp of coffee. every now and then I feel like my mind just drifts off, so I kind of need to recenter myself a bit. See if it comes back, if it recharges. I'm not sure if you're still there, Nathan, but if you are, mind telling me about your Roblox game you're working on? I'm curious. I know I didn't say much after your 89 million there, but kind of got lost in my thing here. So other than that, what's happening? It's kind of hard. I didn't realize these lights are so warm. This is my first, I believe it's my first stream. No, it's not my first stream. What I'm saying, this is my second or even third stream with these lights. But because of the green screen, I had to bump them up quite a bit, and they are getting really warm. Kind of want to take off my jacket, but at the same time, don't want to. I don't know. I'll think about it. For now, I just need to get my head back into this. I'm start to think that as it is, it's not that bad. Let's try something else. Let's go for a new cap. A new matte cap. I'm going to try the normal one and see if we can spot anything that looks so out of place that I just have to fix them. And so far, yeah, there are a few spots, but I think I can get away with them being as is because they look kind of like micro level detailing. Let's call it that. There's a few spots. I think this section right here. Now I'm really being nitpicky, right? This part could probably clean that up. Same time, why wouldn't the rock have that type of detail? I think it could. A section. It's decent. It's not the world's most beautiful rock. Okay, so this part though, these feels like you can almost tell that they're uniform, right? It's almost like there's one spot and an equal, rather than a spot, square, then a square, and another square. So that's not what we want. If we can push that back a bit. Make it less square. Or at least maybe incorporate those squares a bit better. Use the fact that they are there to our advantage. I mentioned this during the last stream. It's important to take a step back, and I kind of feel like that's what I needed in this part. That last minute there, it's really good. A bit of an eye opener, and it tends to be that each time I step back, I usually come to these realizations, or yeah, that doesn't work, or that works really well, or something like that. And don't get too stuck into nitty-gritty details. It's really, at least in game development wise, perhaps probably many other areas of life in general, if you get too stuck into the details, you'll miss the big picture. And this sounds like a repeating accordion, or like record, something like that. Accordion. But yes, that's really what it is. You don't want that. Although everything has nuance, so same with my life advices here on this stream in general. Take with a grain of salt. But yeah, I do feel like every time I feel overwhelmed, taking a step back, evaluate what I have, distance, tend to give me a better view of life in general, or in this case, not as grand, but in this case, modeling. There's a lot of these crumple brush stuff still left, so we're gonna fix that. Actually, I'm really feeling a lot of issues popping up with this model that we need to fix. Luckily, I didn't move on. This is terrible. Let's work on these. Gonna take another step back soon, but kind of want these details to be gone first. Let's just do smooth. Actually, move back to this one. Started to have issues with seeing stuff. Really out of practice, I feel, because I tend to press the wrong buttons constantly, which is annoying. This side's not good in general. Why did I miss this? Or the dynameshing could have messed it up. Okay. Oh. Starting to look better. Yeah, at some point I need to call quits on this rock. At least the detailing. I do want to move on to the other parts of this, which is the texturing and things like that, but it will drive me nuts if there's too much issues with it. So I'll stick to refining it a bit more. Just a bit more. try that and do this. What happens then? Not that way. This way. Can really never remember which direction that thing goes. I think that's well and good enough. Oh, look at that. Push this section in. Okay, so that part. Go. Not really working. It is. All right. Didn't look like the Dynamesh did what it had to do, or should do. All right. We're kind of really reworking this part completely. Isn't necessarily a bad thing. I wasn't expecting it though. But that happens. That happens. That happens. Let's see. A flat surface. This back bit. Flatten that part. We can back. Something like that. And let's see. No, 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 no. Don't want that. Is this better though? Yes, it is. And let's grab this part. And all right. Some weird details, but I kind of like them, so we'll keep them. To see out. Oh, all right. So that section looks quite a lot better now. Start with cleaning this part too. Back to this. Tuck, tuck, tuck in these details. Oh, what's going on? All right. So let's see what this looks like with the normal cap. Certainly a lot harsh details, which is what I want. Like you have really nice playing going on up here. There you go. What else? Think. Let's look at the normals. Think we're done. Nothing stands out. Or as I can tell. Let's look. I haven't worked as much on these sides. The short end. So that might be an issue. No, not really. This might be. Nope, I'm gonna accept that as is. Release. Mouse release. I think. Yep, I'm gonna accept this. This is in my mind now a good enough place to stop the high poly detailing. I could definitely take this a lot further. We could use alpha stamps to add detail. The danger with that, though, as I notice, at least with my own personal style, sometimes those stamps doesn't really fit the style I'm working with. Some of these stamps I've used before has a more stylized look or a really high realism look, which, I mean, certainly could use those. And we could go borrowing stuff from, for example, Megascans. We could create stamps from those really high detail, high definition, and realistic high textures. Oh, no. Don't want that. ZBrush don't want that. So what you would do then, we can kind of go into paint. I need to unlock you and move you to the side. So what we could do, let's quickly, is there a way to actually make this default? I don't know. Probably. It's not that I'm aware of though. So if you have a texture and you have all these nice rock details, what we could do is grab part of this by creating, or rather not grabbing a part, we could translate, convert, save this texture as a brush stamp instead, or as a brush in general, I guess it's called. And what you would do is, let's just grab a black. Can I increase the pen size? Not really. I probably can. Can't see how though. Let's do red. So what you would do is you would create a circle at the center of your texture, and then you would have a gradient. So from the middle of your texture, you would have pure white, like an alpha. It would be a mask. So you would, the details would be shown in the center, but as you move out towards the edges of your texture, you would gradually fade the high textures out. So all this on the outside would be more or less completely black, which tells ZBrush, when you use this as a stamp brush, when you want to call it, that it will not use these outer parts at all. It would only use the inside, inside of our radius or circle. So these details will be stamped into our mesh, giving it a really high definition detailing. But I don't think I will show you it or use this technique on this model, but perhaps we could show it though. How it works. Let's go with a standard brush. Where are you? standard. Let's change the type to a drag rect. You could also use like these spray patterns, which will give a decently cool look. It could be really nice to give this variation to this rock. I mean, that could be a fun thing to work with. Not as it is right now. We have to manipulate it with the various brushes, but in an early stage, you can definitely use this to give that randomness to your model. Sure, it's gone. But we're going to use the drag. I'm going to use an alpha. We can just try it in alpha. Probably someone cool one in here. Let's try this one. It's not cool, but, or it probably is, but it will give you an idea what we're working with. So you create this type of detail, this height stamp. I'm not sure what it's called in ZBrush, but then you just drag it out like this. And the more details you have in your mesh, or like the high resolution, the better the quality of your stamp. We can try something else. Yeah, I think the idea comes through, although there might be some confusions since we're not using the proper height detail. But we can do that. We can do that. Could be a crack that wants to. I think there is one we can probably try. How about this one? Perhaps it's more generous when it comes to telling the story. We can do this. And there you go. Now we have scratches in this case. Either way. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do though is, again, I'm going to save a lot doing this process right now. And then we're going to subtool. I'm going to make a copy. Duplicate this, hide you. We're then going to go to, I believe it's on plugin. Yes, so we're going to use Decimation Master. And this is a built-in plugin. That's probably one of the most popular and used ones because it allows us to quickly lower the resolution on our model without actually sacrificing a lot of the details. Some details will be gone, but it's minuscule compared to what you get, which is you're going to save probably a full day of work. If I'm going to have to lower the details on this model, it's probably more than a day. It's a lot. So I highly recommend getting into this one. And for a highpoly, because we're not going to use the original model as highpoly, 6 million is way too much. Or actually, well, it's 6 million. I'd like to go down to, let's say, million. It depends, but I think million in this particular case will probably work quite well. And I think that would mean 20% decimation is enough. Yeah, but because that's about 1,200,000, so that works. Let's do a pre-process. And what ZBrush does now is just kind of looking at my model and trying to figure out the best way to do the next step, which is the decimation part. So you can see in the top left, you have a progress bar. And it's really nice. So as far as I've understood the process right now, it's storing, I'm not sure if it's the correct word, but let's call it cache data, which means that it has all the details, the number of polygons, points, everything. It knows everything about this model. So when I decimate it, it will like, oh, look at these details. Don't have to calculate any new stuff. Just look at these things and do it, like decimate it. And the good thing is that we can then tell it, hey, 20% was not enough or too much. We can ask it to do 30 or 10, and we'll look at the old data and say, well, I already know what it looked like, so now I can just, instead of 20, just go back and do 30. I don't have to Control Z. I believe I don't have to, at least. We're going to try this out. We're going to do a decimate current. And there you go. It's done. And you can barely see the difference. What we can do to show it off is this is what it looks like in wire mode after decimation. I can show you what it looked like before decimation. You should see it's more or less black. And that's all the wire frames, the edges between each point. We can zoom in and see that it's really high res. But if we go back a step, this is what it looks like now. And if we zoom in, it's hard to tell. And you can only see that it looks like a big mess. But it's down to 1.2 million rather than 6 million. And we could probably get it even lower, since we don't have the super minuscule details. I think that 20% is probably too much. Let's go with 10. Now we're down to 600,000. And if we go back to this part, I can't really tell personally. I can't tell if there's been a loss of details. No. Well, I think we're fine. So let's do it like this. Actually, let's call this something. Rename. Let's call it Streamrock. Let's not call it practice. Let's call it high. So we know the difference. And actually rename you to original. Just to make sure we keep track. And move you up. I want you, because we're going to repeat this process. We're going to do another reprocess. And now we're going for the low poly. So we're going to try to decimate it as much as possible. Probably around the percentage, something like that. Probably less. We'll see. At this point where we're losing details, or when it starts to break down the big shapes too much, we need to bump it up a bit. I'll see if we can find a point where I can show you what I'm talking about when it comes to like the big breakdowns of details. We're not going to worry about these small minuscule stuff. If we can get a big plane in this area, that's more than enough. Like support this section right here probably, and the one going across, and then yeah, I think that can work. So it's reordering. It's almost done. And we can then, let's try a percentage. On the right model, yes. Always check that you're on the right model. And let's do a decimation. No, pressed the wrong one. All right, let's give him another minute. So once I'm done with this, I mentioned this at the start, hopefully I did, is we're going to move this into Blender. And from there, we're going to do a final cleanup, because decimation tends to give us issues every now and then. Like 99.9% is like fine. That last percentage, or less than the percentage, I need to fix that, and it's gonna be quite easy. Then we're gonna move on to UV mapping, and I believe the plan is, at least, I want to go all the way to painting this. Haven't decided if I want to go with a pre-made smart material in Painter. There's some really good ones out there, or if I want to recreate from scratch. Time-wise, I'm leaning towards using a smart material, because I don't think I'm in this stage of my. I'm really rusty when it comes to paint. I haven't used it in way too long. So creating a scratch material from scratch would probably take a bit too long, my liking. I'm just going to use one, I think. But we'll see. I haven't decided yet. All right, press the right button now, and decimation. All right. So initial thoughts, we're down to 60,000. It's way too much for a game. Well, you do have 99 things like that in Unreal today, but I think I want to go down to. I mean, if I can get it down to like 5,000, that would be great. We'll take one step at a time. Let's do 0.5, which you can also tell here roughly what you'll get. It tells me I'll get. I believe this is the most accurate one. So it says 30, which makes sense. Half of 60,000 is 30,000. So let's see. All right, still looks great. We can look at the wireframe, and you can tell it's really gone to a low level right now. I think these sections where we have more flat planes could be even less geometry. It's way too uniform right now. So let's try even half of that, which is 0.25. Try it again. Still, we're doing quite well. I can't really tell if there's any issues. We can actually add back the highpoly. See, everything seems uniform. There's no darker spots or large white spots, which would probably indicate you're having some issues with the model. And these black and these white or light and dark areas are because I have one active underneath the selected one, or visible underneath the active. That's the word I'm looking for. So the visible but not active model will be dark, and the other way around. The active one will be bright. That's just ZBrush telling you, hey, this one is active, this one's an active is selected. Now selected this one, now selected that one. And I think we could go even lower. Let's aim for 5,000. Let's see what happens. Let's go for 5, which is less than 1/10 of a percentage. Okay. Actually, it might look like I've done way too much. I don't think I have. I think actually this works out quite nice. There's no real big errors, artifacts as far as I can tell. So I think we're fine. I think we could stop at 5,000. I could probably save another 500 or 1,000. This is all about experimenting, but experience helps certainly. But I've never been in a situation where I've nailed the level of details on the first try. And I've done quite a bit of these rocks by now. There might be some pipelines out there that has perfected the process of the level of details, the amount of cracks, whatever. I think that most developers will experience it in the way I've done it, and that is go for one try, aim for something that looks, I think that works, try it out, realize what works and doesn't work, and then just try it again. Do that a few times. What you want to do is do it as few times as possible, but realize you probably have to do it at least a few times, if that makes sense. Okay. With that, I'm going to do another save. Actually, now think about what's going to happen. Let's do this. Append. And this is what I'm doing right now is by no means necessary for anyone to do. It's a personal thing. So the top model will be renamed to whatever I save my Z tool as. Well, actually, now that I think about what we could do instead, just move you up. we could do this. We could have the original one as whatever my Z tool will be called. So you can tell what's going to happen now. I've called it something completely different from what it's called now and named now. And once I save it, it's now SteamRock Practice 05. That's going to happen every time. So what you could do then is select a model in your list that you don't really care for what it's called, or you can just add, like I did earlier, append another model that just, let's call it a sacrifice model. It'll just be what's sacrificed as what will be named whatever I call it, and you could always have it at the top. Create a folder. Let's call it sacrifice. That we don't have to add you to it. Oh, actually, I need to do this. It's been a while. Called sacrifice. Close it. Turn it off. Now it's likely that that's going to fix whatever issue. It's not really an issue though, but it's one way of keeping your subtool menu clean. Let's do that. And this all is fine. So now we need to export these. Now I need to remember, because I do believe there is something about the export that it's a bit tricky. So you can export this as OBJ or FBX. And something tells me, something in the back of my head, that there's more advantages to export as an OBJ. So we need to go with this. I'm going to select, I'm going to go with the same folder. It's on my left computer. I'm not going to show you my window, but it's just a regular save window. And it says it's an OBJ, it's in the OBJ format, which is what we want. It's called SteamRock Low, which is the name of the model. And I'm just adding it to the same folder as my C tools. Let's do the same for this. And it's high. And I think that is it for ZBrush. So we're going to open Blender. This takes a bit of a time to open, but we'll see. It'll work at some point. Add water. It's less than 30 minutes left, so I think I'll manage. Okay, there we go. Let's create a new. I'm going to do this. There we go. Let's delete this collection. Oh, that was duplicate. That's not what I wanted. And these collections that you see right now, they are default for me because I'm using a specific plugin or add-on, as it's called in Blender. I believe it's this one called Send to Unreal. Send the number 2 Unreal. It's a, I believe it is a add-on. I'm not 100% sure, so this is really with a grain of salt. It was a open source one that Epic either developed or took over and made their own. I'm not sure. So that's just my impression. Probably wrong, but who knows? Either way, don't worry about these because you're likely not going to see them unless you have the same add-on. But they're not going to be anything that affects this process. If you, what I'm trying to say, if you're trying to imitate what I'm doing, you follow along. I mean, if you do, thank you. But if you do, don't worry about this. So next step is we're going to import this. And again, I have add-ons. So some of these things are not going to be what you see. This is just for me. But same, everything is up here. So if you want to do this, you got import and export over here. But me, I'm using an add-on. I believe it's called Machine Learning 3 or something like that. Either way, I'm gonna not export. I'm gonna import. I'm gonna import. Don't need to see that. The question is though, where the hell did I put it? I'm terrible with these, with the keeping track. It's under this. Probably, there we go. Let's start with the high poly. The settings could be as is. I can actually show this part. So this is the options you're going to get when it comes to the OBJ import. And as far as I can remember, none of these matter that much. Perhaps actually these settings could be something we can adjust. Let's try, because I've never done this before. I know that I believe X is forward in ZBrush. And Z is definitely up. For now, I do believe actually that Epic has decided that for Unreal 6, they're going for the more standard axis alignments, which is Y upward. I believe that is true. Actually, I kind of looked that up. No, not right now. Let's assume I'm correct, that I'm not spreading misinformation. Let's just say I'm correct for now. And here we are. We have our rock in Blender, and by sheer chance, I think we're actually kind of good on the alignment, because I was thinking this would be more of a how to put it, by having the origin point low, like in this case, it becomes harder to rotate it. At least it's not necessarily hard, but less intuitive when it's not in the center of the model. So I'm imagining this rock never really being turned upside down, but around its axis, absolutely. I can actually demonstrate. So I'm imagining it being rotated like this, not necessarily like this. Good or bad? Not really. There's no point in doing different showing it. It's neither good or bad. It's a choice, rather. And for your projects or whatever, yeah, it's all up to you. For the sake of it, let's just say I am actually going to add this to the center, and I'm going to push this back like this. There we go. I could potentially have screwed that up. Why? Is we haven't really imported the low poly yet. The low poly and this high poly are slightly different, which means the origin point might also be slightly off, because it goes for the center of your object. So instead, let's import the low. Hopefully it aligns perfectly. It does. So let's do this instead. I'm going to go to my low poly. I'm going to put my cursor the center of, oh sorry, I can't do that. Then let's do this instead. Origin point is now at the center of the low poly. We're going to then move our cursor, go back to the high, and tell the origin point to move to the cursor. By doing this, they should be in the same exact spot. Okay, and I do like to have this two showing. So this one, so these two filters, so I'm filtering out these options, but I'm adding the back now. I have one that's called disable selection, which means I can't click it. I can't select them, which is a good thing to have. Or I can turn off its visibility, or I can turn off, I believe this is part of it hides everything from render and things like that. It's slightly different compared to the hide in viewport. Disable and hide. There's a difference. But yeah, usually this a computer screen, which is disabled in viewports, is more global, or it disables it in all options in Blender. So if you're going to render something and you have it hidden as in disabled in viewport, then it's not going to show up. But if you have it hidden, it still might show up. I think that's the difference. I'm really pointing out a lot of stuff that is maybe, perhaps, an assumption right now. All right. So on the low poly, I'm just going to do this. Don't really care. We're going to go for a second look. Let's go to wireframe actually. See if there's a clumps or clusters of points. Sometimes Decimation in ZBrush does that, or leaves like a cluster of points really tight knit, like nested together. And that will definitely mess up your break and will look terrible in Engine. I can't see any clusters, so we're fine. All right, perfect. Let's go back to no wireframe. I do like to change the matte cap a bit. Prefer a few other ones. Let's go with this one. All right, I need to do this. Select these two, Alt G to center them in the middle of the scene. And we need to hide the high again. So now we come down to the UV mapping. All these values, actually there's one value that's not correct yet. So we need to reset all transforms. There we go. And do this once your model is at the center of your scene. If you don't, the origin point will be moved again. There you go. All right. So for the UVs, we could try, it's not going to work, likely not going to work. We could try the select sharp edges, but we'll get quite the mess, so it's not really going to work for us. What we likely have to do is manually select. And I'm going to select all the valleys. We're going to work on it. So we can do this by selecting one and then holding down Control. It will quickly add along the line like this. And actually might not, I can work with this. So I'm trying to find a path that leads through where the valleys of the details, where two planes meet. That's usually the best place to have a crack or a seam. So let's try it out. This part might be an issue, but we'll see once we're in texturing mode. That's also one thing that's slightly annoying about this process, that sometimes you don't know until you get to a certain stage along the way of in the pipeline and realize, oh well, that thing I did a few days back, it's not going to work now. And it's unfortunately part of the process. And if you know a way to get by, make that process even faster, good on you, and I would love to hear about it, but this is what I know. And it has worked quite well for me so far. Let's see, where is it? I think this is the part where we're going to add our seam. What we could also do, go to, is it options? Yes, live unwrap. We can't tell what happened, but what is going on in the background though is that our UV mapping is unwrapping automatically rather than going to face mode, select everything, press U, then unwrap. it's not going to automatically do it every time I make a new seam. Actually, looking at that, we could probably, and it's happening in the background. There we go. You see it's kind of stuttering a bit. That's because it's doing the unwrapping. What we can't really tell, so what we're going to do is go to UV editing and select this thing. And I have an add-on called Text Tools. It allows me to quickly just add check and map like this, which will be really helpful when it comes to the unwrap part. So let's see. Let's go with 1024. Just a bit smaller or high res details. And then we'll go back to this. We're going to have to go to material. Actually, that's kind of hard to tell, isn't it? I'll try this. Let's go with that. It's kind of easier to tell where the crevices are. So I know I need to go through this part. Or maybe not. We'll see once I get to the end. Not too concerned about the perfect placements right now, because it will likely have to change. And here's the one thing we could fix. So this big edge, it's kind of close to this thing, this point. So what we could do is terminate it by moving it into this part. And we don't have that. If you have this option selected or enabled, it will automatically merge points when you move it like this. Otherwise, you have to deselect this and again move it in. Realize you don't have it selected or merged. Then you do like this by distance thing, and then you get a small message down here telling you it's done. But I usually work with this on. And we'll continue this even further. Probably again, might have to change this, but it looks like the detail continues, which is good. This means I can create a complete unwrap. That's good. And we'll need to continue it down this road. Should I terminate down here? Or it doesn't meet up? It does meet up perfectly well there. Let's go with that. I could potentially go across this, but I do like to keep the islands as big as possible. Might have to change that. We'll see. It's a lot of these stuff is like, I might get away with this, I might not. It's just a trial of just continue doing it, see what happens. There's another problem. Okay, let's terminate you right there. So this part, similar to before, I could terminate it, or I can just move this up, double tap in G, and just place it like there. Argument would be to terminate it, because then I'll save polygons, but it's a single polygon in this big mess. It's not really that big of a deal. If you notice this 1,000 times, then yeah, that's another thing. That's a completely different thing. Moving down this section and terminate this part. So now we almost have this entire thing separated from the rest, which is good. And you can kind of tell when that's happening. If you select the face, you go into face mode. You might not have to select the face, but I usually do. Then press L. The entire thing is now selected. But if you go down to this part, actually, if it was a separate island, UV island, it would only select this island I was hovering over when I pressed L. You can, and that's this setting. If you have seam, it will look at the seam, follow it, and see if there's a unique single out island. In this case, there wasn't. So we're gonna have to create one. And can't really find a way to get this loop right here to connect with this loop. But I do know that I need to go this way at least. And while we're going down this path, I can tell we have another close polygon right here. So I'm going to move this out back to edge. Going down. Actually, let's not do that. Go that way. We're going to go this way instead. Looking from this side, you can see there's a flat plane, and then it's transitioning into this slope, which is what we like to terminate an edge. Oh, what's going on? Oh, right, that's where the issue came up. Okay, so what we could do now, if we don't have a valley accessible to us, we can try to use the peak or an edge instead. And the edge we have available for us right now is this that goes across. So we can try that. Actually, what we want to try is, I think this edge would probably be better. I can look from the side until it's going like this, I think. Let's try that and then terminate like so. So let's try the L selection again. And hopefully, if this is a complete separate or island now, we'll only select this part. There you go. So now we can tell that this is now one single piece. And we can double check that by going this part into this and see, yep, that makes sense. That said, now that it is separate, we can look at another thing. And that is, how big are my squares? Are they stretched? Are they big? Are some bigger than the others? And yes, that is true. Some are bigger than the others. And that is likely due to it's having issues trying to unwrap these parts right here. So to optimize that, we might have to go through an edge, add another seam across an edge. So we can look at that. Let's see. So we do have an edge that goes this part. The challenge lies in the other side of this mesh. Let's go through this. We'll see when I get to this part over here. Let's not do that. Let's terminate right there, or add a seam and move this down. All right, so we're going to stop here. So here we're running into challenge. Likely what's going to happen, move you down, is that I'm going to have to go this way and keep this plane separate. Yeah, I think that will be the best option. So we're going to find where this top facing plane that goes up separates from this one going, well, that way. And that is likely happening. Can I terminate in this section, or do I need to go all the way around? I might have to go all the way. No, I don't think I do. Actually, I do. Or almost. Let's go this way. Let's try that. Let's mark the seam. So now that we've done that, let's go back to this. And now we can see that our squares are now, I would say, perfectly uniform all across the entire thing, which tells me that these UVs are now all good. The downside to this is once we get into texturing, this section will now have a specific, will occupy a specific area of our, let's see, I can do, it's easier to tell if I do this. So they occupy a specific area of our texture. So this section of the texture we will be using will have different details. I mean, they will be similar in nature or type, but they will be slightly different. They might be positioned in a different area compared to this. So the seam, we might be having some noticeable seams. So that's the downside we might run into. There's likely ways to get around that, but we're using edges and valleys because of this. Because terminating these type of details in those areas doesn't really affect. It's not as noticeable when it comes to tiling textures. And I definitely want to do things like, let's see, if this, okay, so that's that one. I'm going to try to have a similar direction to these two. So now this big plane on the side has a, let's call it sideways, and it goes horizontal. You can say it goes this way, while the top one goes vertical. It's aligned vertically. We could try and adjust that by doing this. So now the details kind of flow a bit better. You can tell if I do it this way, now the details will flow in these directions right here. It's not absolutely necessary to do this. Perhaps overkill. We'll see at the later stage, but it will, from experience, it has helped me in the past to do that. All right, so let's do something else. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select my seams. So I can select through trait. Is it now similar? Yes. Select similar, and I can select seams. Then I'm going to make these sharp, which is not going to do much. But if you go to the geometry tab, I think this is geometry, oh, object data tab, and normals, select auto smooth, do 180. Oh, sorry. There might be, why isn't it? Oh, I need to smooth it first, then add auto smooth. Now we can see it's likely going to look like some areas. So we can also see shading issues if we do it this way. So you want to smooth it, shade smooth, then activate the auto. Is that really how it works though? Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. So you want to do 180 on the auto smooth, and then you make sure that you have your seams made sharp. We'll see what works in the end. Because again, my head started working out. I'm realizing something when I said this. So it's not an issue going this way. What might be an issue during baking, because there's something in my head that screams hard edges and baking could be an issue, or actually what you want to do. I need to look that up, refresh my memory. Yeah, I need to refresh my memory. Either way. Oh, there we go. Notice another issue. Let's have a look. Now that everything is smooth, do I see another one of those black shading issues? This one, perhaps not terrible, but let's just move it out a bit. Probably not going to be an issue. All right. Oh, let's fix you before I actually end this. Oh, there's a big issue. See, it's actually folded above. the point, so we can actually terminate you into this one. Okay. Let's see. All right. Time-wise, so it's 8:30. I usually end, at least on weekdays, I end at 8:30. My goal is to extend that at some point, but it's hard. It's a difficult thing now that now that I'm actually employed at another place. So I'm doing regular work on the side, or rather the other way around. I'm studying on the side and I'm working. So I need to make sure I stick to those schedules. But weekends, I'm going to try and extend this at least an hour or two at some point. But I'm slowly progressing. This is only my second month, if you exclude the month I was away on vacation. Just a regular vacation. It has nothing to do with the streaming, but I had to go home. I wanted to see my parents, so I spent some time with them and fishing and everything like that. It was a lot of fun. My point is, between all the rambling, I have to end the stream, and please, I'm really bad at this call to actions. This is a call to action. If you like what I do, please consider adding me as a follow, subscribe to my content. I'm also on YouTube, which I believe there's a link somewhere in my description. If you can't see it, if it's not there, please look at Everkindle Studio on YouTube. I do upload all the VODs, and in the future, I have some plans on uploading other stuff. So if you like what I do, if you like the things I'm talking about, I plan on doing more of that on YouTube, at least more tutorial stuff. And I have one coming up, which I'm really looking forward to. So this is the final call. Please give me a follow, like, subscribe, and I wish you all the best. And with that, I'll see you all tomorrow. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. All right. Bye.